Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling a pretty big one, actually, something I think many of you listening have probably thought about. Making that jump, from employee to, well, to being your own boss.
Hmm.
We've got a really interesting source for this. It's called From Employee to Entrepreneur, My Path to Financial Freedom.
Sounds promising.
Yeah. And our goal here for you is to really dig into what that change actually involves. Like
Yeah.
what happens under the hood. Forget the shiny Instagram version for a second.
Right.
We want to look at the inner shifts, the mindset stuff, and also those first practical steps. Hopefully leaving you with some real clarity, maybe some useful insights if this is something you're even vaguely considering.
Absolutely. And it's so much more than just switching jobs, isn't it? It's like
Yeah.
a fundamental change in perspective, how you see work, how you see yourself.
Totally.
And what's really striking about this source is how much it focuses on that personal evolution. It's not like flipping a switch.
Yeah.
Well, it's a process, a gradual thing.
Okay, so let's start right at the beginning then, the why. What's that initial feeling, that dissatisfaction maybe, that pushes someone to think about leaving a stable job?
Well, the source highlights this really common feeling of being boxed in,
Yeah.
that sense that you could be doing more, maybe more creatively, or just feeling like your day is kind of dictated by someone else's agenda.
Right, the routine, the paycheck, it's secure, but maybe not fulfilling.
Exactly. That security is comforting for sure. Predictable income, you know what to expect. But the piece suggests that for some people, that predictability eventually starts to feel, well, restrictive, like a cage almost.
It's that classic tension, isn't it? The comfort zone versus
Mm.
something calling you. And the author really nails this internal question. Do I really want to be doing this for the next 10, 20, 30 years?
That moment of honesty.
That seems crucial.
It really is. And that question often leads to rethinking what's most valuable. Your time, your energy. The source puts it quite powerfully. Are you pouring all that energy into building someone else's dream?
Or could you be building your own?
Precisely. And when that feeling, that dissatisfaction, gets strong enough that it outweighs the safety net of the job, well, that's often the real trigger, the catalyst for looking at alternatives.
Okay, so there's this deep down desire bubbling up. Now, the source is really clear that the mindset change has to come first, or at least alongside the practical stuff. It's not just about doing things differently, it's about thinking differently.
Exactly. That mental shift is foundational. The piece really contrasts the typical employee mindset with the entrepreneurial one. An employee generally works within set roles, follows structures, has specific responsibilities.
And the salary is kind of the main driver, or at least a huge part of the equation.
Right. Whereas the entrepreneurial mindset, as described here, is much more about spotting problems and figuring out solutions. Seeing opportunities maybe others miss.
And being okay with risk.
Yeah, understanding that risk is part of it, part of growth. And taking, total ownership, not just for the tasks, but for the outcomes, good or bad.
So less waiting for instructions.
And more asking questions like, what problem can I actually solve here? Or how can I create real value for someone? Or how do I grow this, scale it? That kind of proactive thinking.
That's a big shift. And it often means challenging some pretty ingrained beliefs, right? The source mentions how upbringing, education, sometimes they don't exactly prime us for entrepreneurial thinking.
Oh, absolutely. That's a huge point in the piece. We pick up these limiting beliefs, sometimes without even realizing it. Things like security is everything, or, oh, I'm not a salesperson.
Yeah.
Or just that nagging voice saying, am I good enough for this?
Yeah, the self-doubt thing.
Exactly. And these beliefs, they might feel safe, but they can really hold you back if you're trying to build something yourself. Getting past those internal roadblocks is a massive part of the transformation.
Okay, so let's say someone's got that initial pull, they're starting to work on the mindset. What are the first practical steps? How do you actually dip your toes in the water?
The source really champions the side hustle approach.
Yeah.
Starting something small on the side while you still have the security of your main job.
So like what kind of things?
Oh, it could be anything, really.
Yeah.
Setting up a little online shop, maybe doing some freelance work based on your skills, coaching, creating content, trying out e-commerce. Lots of options.
And the point isn't necessarily to make millions right away.
No, not at all, according to this. The main goal in that early stage is getting real-world experience. Testing your idea, does it actually have legs?
And testing yourself, too. Like, do you actually enjoy this?
Exactly. Do you have the aptitude for it?
Yeah.
And crucially, experiencing what it feels like to be solely responsible for everything. The idea, the work, the customer service, fixing things when they go wrong. It's a whole different ballgame from being an employee.
Definitely. And with the author talks about some common hurdles in that phase, things most people run into.
For sure. Time management is a big one.
Yeah.
I mean, finding the hours and the energy to build something new when you've already done a full day's work, that's tough.
Yeah, the burnout risk is real.
Totally. And then there's self-motivation, keeping going when you're not seeing instant results, when there's no boss checking up on you. That inner drive is critical.
What about other people? Doubters.
Yep, that comes up too. Dealing with skepticism, maybe from friends or family who don't quite get it, and maybe most importantly, learning how to handle setbacks. Those early failures or bumps in the road, seeing them not as stop signs, but as learning opportunities, that's essential.
Okay, let's talk about financial freedom. It's such a buzzword, isn't it? The source seems to give it a bit more nuance, though.
It really does. It pushes past just thinking more money. It frames financial freedom more as a state of independence. And the key idea is building income streams that aren't directly, like, one-to-one tied to your personal time input.
So not just trading hours for money anymore.
Exactly. It's about creating systems, maybe using automation, finding ways to scale things so the business can generate income even when you're not actively physically working in it every single hour.
Makes sense. But it's not just about the money, is it?
No, and that's a really important layer the source adds. It talks about emotional freedom, too, having more control over your schedule, the kind of projects you take on, the direction of your life overall.
And getting that kind of freedom, both financial and emotional, it takes certain qualities, right? It's not just handed to you.
Absolutely not. The piece really stresses things like self-discipline, the courage to actually take those calculated risks, and having a really clear vision for what you're trying to build, something that pulls you forward.
And taking responsibility again.
Yes, circling back to that. Owning the wins, but also owning the mistakes. The source argues that embracing that full accountability is actually what fuels your growth, both as a person and as a business owner.
So looking back at the journey described, what are some of the biggest lessons learned, the key takeaways that really stand out?
Well, one huge one is self-leadership. Learning to be your own motivator, your own manager, when there's no external boss setting the agenda, that's crucial.
You have to drive yourself.
You really do. Another is developing a different relationship with mistakes, seeing them not as catastrophic failures, but as feedback, data points almost, learning opportunities that are actually part of the path to success.
That's a mindset shift in itself, especially coming from environments where mistakes are often seen very negatively.
Definitely. The piece also talks about the importance of sales, getting comfortable with selling your product, your service, your idea, even yourself in a way.
Which many people find uncomfortable at first.
Very true. And it also loops back to the ongoing need for mindset work. It's not a one-and-done thing. It's about constantly adjusting your thinking as you encounter new challenges and learn new things.
And finally,
Patience and perseverance. Just acknowledging that building something meaningful takes time. Success, real success, rarely just happens overnight. You have to stick with it.
so putting it all together, it really sounds like this shift from employee to entrepreneur. It's way more than a career change. It's a deep dive into yourself, really. A journey of self-discovery.
That's exactly the feeling you get from the source. Yes, financial independence might be a goal, maybe a big one, but the process itself forces you to face your fears, push your limits, and find strengths you didn't even know you had.
And the ultimate prize, as the author sees it, is that freedom. The freedom to design your own life, your own work.
And interestingly, the source suggests that journey doesn't just magically start the day you quit your job. It can begin much earlier. It begins when you start thinking like an entrepreneur, cultivating that mindset, even if you're still employed.
Right. So maybe a final thought for you listening today is this. What would that entrepreneurial freedom actually look like for you in your own life?
Yeah, what would it mean personally?
And maybe, just maybe, what's one small thing, one tiny step you could take today, even just mentally, towards that vision? It doesn't have to mean quitting your job tomorrow. It's about that first shift, that first step on whatever path feels right for you.